A pleasant day, friends, brothers, and sisters. At this point of our program, we shall now have the Besant Lecture. The Besant Public Lecture was named after the late Dr. Annie Besant, a theosophist, the second international president of the Theosophical Society, a women's rights advocate, a social worker, writer, orator, educator, and philanthropist. The Besant lectures usually cover subjects related to religion, spirituality, culture and welfare, or the progress of humanity. For this year's convention, I am deeply honored and privileged to introduce our guest speaker for today, Mr. Antonio A. Oposa Jr., or simply Tony, as he is fondly called. Tony is one of the leading voices in the global arena of environmental law. When I requested Tony for his biographical sketch so that I may properly introduce him today, he just told me to introduce him as a human being. And he dissuaded me from giving a lengthy introduction and practically prohibited me from mentioning that he is a lawyer advocate and a graduate of the Harvard Law School, where he gave the commencement speech during the graduation of his class in 1997. Neither was I to mention that he was awarded the TOIM, or the Outstanding Young Men Awards, in 1993, as well as the prestigious Magsaysay Awards in 2009. The latter Magsaysay Awards being Asia's highest award for public service and Asia's version of the Nobel Prize. I was also instructed by Tony not to disclose that he is part of the United Nations Global Roll of Honor, and that in 2019 at the United Nations, the International Council of Environmental Law appointed him as Ombudsman for future generations, which granted him the powers and authority of inquiry and representation necessary to advance the interests of the generations today and those yet to live on Earth, or that he holds the Normandy Chair for Peace, also a distinguished visiting scholar and professor in the Vermont School of Law, the Pace Law School, and the University of Hawaii, holding the Inouye Chair for Democratic Ideals. So I tried to negotiate with Tony what I could provide as a reasonable introduction beyond his being human. Personally, I am aware of his landmark work in the Philippine Supreme Court case that gave legal standing to children acting on behalf of future generations yet to be born to take legal action against the government. The children sued the government to stop logging in the last old-growth forests of the Philippines. In another case, he waged a 10-year legal battle against 13 government agencies, wherein the Supreme Court issued a continuing mandamus and ordered all the government agencies concerned to clean up the once filthy Manila Bay. Well, eventually, Tony said that I could introduce him as a simple storyteller and a beach bum, and currently an aspiring musician and gardener. So friends, brothers and sisters, let us all welcome our Besant lecturer, Mr. Antonio A. Oposa, Jr.
Good day to you, my dear friends from around the world. Thank you for the honor of being with you today in this wonderful and memorable moment. Instead of giving you a lecture, my friends, may I instead tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a group of young people who went up the mountain on a camping trip. Suddenly, heavy rains fell, and so they had to hide in a cave. Inside the cave, they saw on the cave wall, they saw the word environment. They were wondering, what does that mean? Then they saw a hermit who lived in the cave and said, they asked, "Sir, what does the word environment mean?" The hermit said, "Children, what is the environment? Is it about the birds and the bees, the flowers and the trees, and the monkeys and the donkeys? Or is it about life and the sources of life, of land, air, and water?" Easy to remember. LAW, the law of life. What is the environment? Is it about the birds and the bees, and the flowers and the trees? Or is it about life and the sources of life, of land, air, and water? The trees and the forests are the heart and the lungs that give us air to breathe. The land and the soil are the skin and the flesh that give us food to eat. The sea and the rivers are the blood and blood streams of life that give us water to drink. They are the vital organs of life on earth. Land, air, and water, the law of life. My friends, you are from all over the world. And while we may not have met each other personally, we are friends. Friends, because friendship is defined as people of shared passions. Together, although we have not met each other personally, together we share a passion for the earth. And together we try to respect the land, air, and waters of life. Together we believe that we humans are the thinking part of nature. We also share the belief that as humans, as supposedly the wisest animals on earth, we are the guardians and caregivers, caretakers of the land, air, and waters that make life on earth possible. My friends, we also know that we will have peace on earth when we have peace with the earth. How can we make peace with the earth? Science and law try to change the mind. When you change the mind, it can change tomorrow. But when you change the heart, it is forever. How can we change the heart? There is a clue in the words earth and heart. Both words contain the word art. Art is the language of the heart, as music is the song of the soul. How can we change the heart? Oh, the greatest human hunger is not the hunger for food. It is the hunger of the human heart for approval and appreciation. The seeds of goodness grow in the soil of appreciation for goodness. Kind words do not just praise the goodness of others. Kind words have the power to change the destiny and the story of the world. My friends, for a long time, I have been trying to use the law to care for the law of life. I use the law to compel people in authority to care for the law of life. But more than that, I try to tell a story. And these are some of the stories I can share with you now. But look at this. These are war stories, legal war stories. So look at that. On the right side, you'll see the group of islands called the Philippines. There, you will see that, near the Pacific Ocean. It is one of the mega diversity countries in the world. There are about 18 countries in the world, 18 countries in the world, that hold almost all of the biological wealth on Earth. And one of them is that group of islands called the Philippines. It is so wonderful that in a book, this is a page out of that book, it says that it is reasonable to think of the Philippines as the Galapagos Islands multiplied tenfold. And that was not a Filipino talking. It was someone from the Chicago Museum of Natural History. But look at this, my friends. This is how the Philippines looked like only 100 years old. It was so green and so living. But because of this economic mindset of taking and using and wasting, the paradigm of extraction and consumption, ex-con, also known as ex-convict, convicted of the crime of waste. My friends, look at that. Using that economic mindset, you take out all those trees there, and then you ship it to abroad, and you ship it abroad, and then a few people in the government, a few people in the Philippines make money, a lot of money. But using that mindset, look at what happened less than 100 years later. Wow, almost nothing was left. So I decided to tell a little story. Because I am not really a lawyer, I am only a simple storyteller. Words are my paintbrushes. Law is the medium, and maybe the courtroom is the canvas of the art of storytelling. This is what happened then. Less than 1 million hectares was left in the Philippines, and government granted 92 logging companies covering an area of 4 million hectares. 5 times more than what was available. So we decided to tell a story. And the story was not told by me. It was told by young people around the Philippines who we gathered and whose parents agreed to name the case in behalf of them, of their generation, and of future generations. So the children, acting on their own behalf, filed a class suit to stop all logging in the Philippines. Well, for those of you who know the law, how technical people can be in the law, so the children were questioned. Did they have the legal personality? Did they and future generations have the legal personality to sue and file a case in a court of law? So that the case was dismissed in the lower court, and the petitioners, the children, who would not have water to drink when their time comes if we continue wasting our forests. They went on appeal to the Supreme Court, where the question of whether or not they had the right in behalf of themselves and on behalf of future generations, do they have the right to sue? The court said that their personality to sue, their legal personality to sue in behalf of succeeding generations can be based on the concept of intergenerational responsibility. What's that? That's a long word. The question arose that the rights to the environment is not in the Bill of Rights, and it's only in the state policies. And the Supreme Court said that these rights to healthy environment of the people, if they are now specially mentioned in the fundamental law of the land, the Constitution, it is because unless it is written in the Constitution itself. May I ask you all to please read this with me aloud. The day would not be too far when all else would be lost, not only for this generation, but also for succeeding generations. Generations which stand to inherit nothing but a parched earth incapable of sustaining life. My friends, that was almost 30 years ago. And what that decision said 30 years ago is now happening. The earth is becoming a parched piece of land that is becoming incapable of sustaining life. But in between, the good Secretary Facturan canceled all the logging in the old growth forest. So we got lucky there. And it took another generation in 2012 for people to listen, and logging is being banned in the Philippines. Well, whether or not it made a difference, it's all we did was really to tell the story that our children and future generations have a right to drink water, to breathe air, and to eat food. They call that intergenerational responsibility. So, my friends, let me share with you another story. You know, there was a study conducted around the world whereas the richest marine waters in seaweeds, corals, bivalves, gastropods in the world, a big volume, 3-volume, 6-volume book. And they said, oh, it was in the Coral Triangle of Influence. Somewhere there, part of that is the Philippines, Malaysia, all the way even to the Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. And then the Indo-Malay Philippine Archipelago is the center of marine wealth on Earth. And then further studies by international experts learned that the Philippines is the center of the center of marine biodiversity on Earth. If you see that map, at the top of that map, there is a little place there called, looking like a bay, an enclosed area. That is Manila Bay. Then, it was so beautiful, it is supposedly the apex of the richest marine waters on Earth. Yet, what were we doing with it? We were dumping 16 million liters of raw and untreated sewage every day into Manila Bay. So it was time to tell a story. A case was filed against 13 government agencies. And after 10 years of legal battle, finally, petitioners, concerned residents of Manila Bay, including the oysters and the mussels, court finally ordered that to make Manila Bay swimmable again. All the way to the Supreme Court. 10 years. Government agencies were also requested to report every 3 months to the Supreme Court on the progress of their efforts. My friends, those were not legal stories or legal cases. They were simple stories. Stories that have a little message. One, that we have a duty to care for the land, air, and waters of life because future generations will need them. Number two is that we are supposedly the wisest animal on earth and that we should care for the land, air, and waters of life. In these legal stories, and after all my wounds of war and bruises of battle, I finally learned a little something. I have been using the law to right the wrong. Now, I will use the heart to care for the law of life. How do we do that? Now it is time to shine the spotlight on the good, the right, and the strong. My friends, nothing is more powerful than a good story to inspire and set hearts on fire. And inspiration, as we know, is the highest and most powerful form of leadership. That, my friends, is the backstory behind the Good Stories movement. That we will now look for and share good stories of people making peace with the earth. Maybe you and I cannot do great things. We may not change the world in one day, but we still can change the story of the world by changing the storyline in our small way. The Good Stories movement. Much of what happens in this world is not bad. It is neutral, and much of it is good. But why do we hear only of the bad and the sad? Because bad news sells? This is all making us feel depressed, stressed, helpless, and hopeless. No, we are not helpless. We can change the story of the world if we change the storyline. Last August 2020, we launched the Good Stories movement. Change the storyline from bad to good, from sad to happy, from doom to boom, and from gloom to bloom. From now on, we will shine the spotlight on the good, the right, and the bright. From always looking at the wrong, we will now look for the strong. For example, in South Vale Village in Cavite, Philippines, they started a community food garden in November 2019. Now it has bloomed. It is an important journey to food sufficiency. It is an inspiring example of villages around the world. In March 2020, the town of Santa Fe in Bantayan Island in the Philippines started a food garden. The local leaders received the congratulations letters from the Normandy Chair. Inspired by the kind words, in less than 30 days, they increased the food gardens from 50 square meters to 20,000 square meters. Yes, the seeds of goodness live in the soil of appreciation for goodness. In Pakistan, people that were rendered jobless by COVID were hired to plant trees in the denuded mountains. This will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. This This is the new CPR economy to care, protect, and restore the life sources of land, air, and water of life. International luminaries sent Pakistan Prime Minister a letter of congratulations and appreciation for this good work. They were so happy to receive the kind words that the letter was read in the cabinet meeting and published in the Pakistan paper. Edsa Avenue, the most congested road in the Philippines and probably in the world. It was the site of the 1986 Philippine People Power Revolution. In May 2020, concerned citizens and the Metro Manila government cooperated to put up bike lanes. This was the start of another peaceful people power EDSA evolution. It is the evolution of roads from moving cars to moving people. Anne Hidalgo of Paris, making Paris a city of hope and light and leading Paris to a new world of green cities. It has expanded the cycling network to 650 kilometers. Paris is also transforming 300,000 square meters of urban space into food gardens. In Australia, Chief Judge Brian Preston, a big company applied for a coal mine which would turn that beautiful place into this place. The Land and Environment Court of Australia took a decisive action and refused the application. Chief Judge Brian Preston said it is a project at the wrong place at the wrong time. It will destroy this beautiful land. The already holy law. The power of the people and the power of the law. Together and care for the land, air, and water of the land. The Lord. These are only a few good stories. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but a story is worth 1,000 pictures. Nothing is more powerful than a good story to inspire and set hearts on fire. Nothing is more powerful than a good story to inspire and set hearts on fire. We must search for good stories and shine the spotlight on the good, the right, and the bright. Kind words do not just praise the goodness of others. Kind words have the power to change the story of the world. So, what good story are you telling today? Especially at this time, it is so essential to spread happy energy throughout the world and throughout our just small communities. Maybe you and I cannot do great things. We may not change the world in one day, but together we can change the story of the world by simply changing the storyline from bad to good, from fear to courage, and from sad to happy. My friends, may I invite you to join the joy of this journey. Let us search for good stories and shine the spotlight on the good, the right, and the bright. Thank you, dear friends of shared passion, for your gift of kindness to each other, to the earth, and to life on earth. A little gift for you. Please read aloud. You will hear it, and your heart may also feel it. The gift of kindness makes a world of difference. A single act of kindness is greater than all the wisdom of the world put together. Kind words do not just praise the goodness of others. Kind words have the power to change the destiny of the world. The seeds of goodness grow in the soil of appreciation for goodness. In every seed of kindness is the promise of 1,000 forests growing in the garden of goodness. Ten, 50, 100 years from now, and many generations hereafter, let it be said that in our time and during our watch, while gifted with intelligence and insight, with privilege and position, with the wealth of wisdom, and with the freedom and power of the human will. Let it be said that in our time and during our watch, we did our share. And maybe, just maybe, we will make a little difference. Thank you and stay happy. My friends, someone once said that life is like a painting. It is made up of layers and layers of the colors of experience. Like a painting, life can be messy. It is imperfect and it is unfinished. But it can be wonderful. To celebrate this wonderful world, my friends, may I ask everyone to please join me in this song. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies so blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry watch them grow, they learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. Hello.
Oh, yes, indeed. It is a wonderful world. And as guests and steward of this small, fragile planet of ours, as Tony mentioned, we should indeed take care of it. Now, I must say that in the history of the Besant lecture, this is the first time I didn't hear any lecture. There was storytelling, poetry and prose, anecdotes, song and music, and I must say it was Tony on the keyboards and those colorful paintings where, as he would refer to it, his own scribblings, those beautiful colorful paintings. Now, Tony is with us to answer a few questions, and I'll speak slowly because I know this is being translated. But right now, let's proceed with some questions for Tony to put these stories in context. And during my informal conversation with Tony, he mentioned certain milestones, or idiomatically speaking, some watershed moments in his life. And some of these are personal. I hope Tony can answer this, but let's ask him what would be those milestones in his life that has influenced or prompted him along this path of his advocacies. Tony?
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this little beautiful beach. I will tell you a personal story this time. There were two major events that changed my life and my outlook on life. The first was I was 20 years old. I had graduated from my business administration, and I went to that place, the one that you see behind me. And I saw it was a beautiful place, and I saw people who were poor, but they looked very happy. So I was a rich kid then, and I decided that same day, just one like that, one go, I decided to become poor. I decided to live simply. I did not go home to the city with my grandfather and grandmother. I decided to stay there. There was no water, there was no electricity. I had to cook my own food. I had to catch my own fish. I decided to live simply. And from then on, I have lived simply. Much later, about maybe many years later, I read about a certain man from India who also did the same thing. He also shed off. He happens to be a lawyer too. He also shed off everything. I was not yet a lawyer then. I was still, and then I decided to go into law school. 5 years later, there was another, that was the major milestone that changed my life altogether. I was a rich kid. I had a car, I had money, I had everything. All of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, you can lose everything. The ancestral home where I was burned down. I, together with my two friends, were trapped outside. Were trapped inside, rather. But I was crazy enough to say to myself that I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well die fighting. So I went out, and that led me into being in coma for 40 days. You cannot imagine the pain and the suffering. That is something that you will not wish on your worst enemy. But I see that there is someone speaking Spanish here. The Spanish have a nice saying, mala hierba nunca muere. Bad grass never dies. So after 40 days in coma, I woke up. And it was then that during the recovery period, I thought I was in law school, but law was meaningless to me. I was just going to be a lawyer. But it was during that watershed moment that I tried to find meaning in becoming a lawyer. I was only in third year law school then. And the mother of Mr. Charlie Romero was my professor. And it was then when I became a lawyer, instead of working for big law firms, I decided to give my time and effort without any compensation to people who were detained, people who were prisoners, who did not even have lawyers, who did not have money. So for 1-2 years, I represented them. And then it went on until I found in that little place there, it's an island in the central Philippines. And all of you are invited to come there one day. It's a beautiful place. But it was that place that where I go to the beach every evening. My house is somewhere there. I go to the beach every evening and I talk. I talk to the sea, and I allow the sea, of course, does not talk to me, but I allow the silence of the waves and the whisper of the waves to give silence to my heart. And it was during those moments that I decided to take on very difficult things that only a crazy lawyer. My highest distinction is that I am a lawyer of the trees and the fish, who all do not pay attorney's fees. So yes, Miriam hablas español.
Yes. Now, Tony, considering these critical cases that you handle, you clash with big companies and corporations. Does that compromise your safety?
Yes, I have been the object of many death threats, and I have been the object of 2 assassination attempts. 2 assassination plots where my friend, my buddy, who was working to protect those seas, was actually assassinated. But I was able to get away twice. Mala hierba, Miriam mala hierba nunca muere.
Well, I was just asking for the milestones in your life. Apparently, life threw you boulders. Now, and by the way, today is December 29. It is a significant date for you, right?
Yes, it is my 42nd birthday. My second birthday, it is my 42nd birthday because 42 years ago today, I met that life-changing moment of being a fire victim. And 2 of my friends, including my best friend, died in that fire. So it is a very, I told Charlie that, this is a very wonderful moment because it is my 42nd birthday. Yeah.
It is your 42nd lease on life. Now,
yes, and then about 5 years ago, I had another health episode. And while recovering, it is another health episode that you do not want to wish on your worst enemy. During the recovery of that health episode, I began to think of what I have been doing. I have been using the law to care for the law of life. Because that is all I had. I was just a simple, crazy lawyer. That was all I knew. And I said, what can we do now? What can we do now to change? That's why I played that opening song to you, my dear friends. And that was specially made only for this occasion. That starts, it says, maybe you and I cannot do great things. We may not change the world in one day, but we still can change the story of the world by simply changing the storyline in our small way. Why is it that all we hear of is the good, the bad, and the sad? You look at the newspaper, you look at CNN, you look at whatever news media. I have no offense to media, but someone once said that media is the plural of mediocre. But I don't subscribe to that. But you see, if we can use media, my dear friends, like someone I just met recently, a Theosophical volunteer, she is into advertising. I said, if we can just use the power of advertising, if we can just use the power of the heart to shine the spotlight from always looking at the wrong, we will now look for the good, the right, and the strong. And we will shine the spotlight on the good stories. Because, my friends, there is nothing more powerful than a good story to inspire and set hearts on fire. I am not a religious person, but the story of the Bible, the story of the Torah, the story of all those faiths, they inspire people. What if we can hear of good stories that inspire us to care for the earth? And that I see my dear friend, who is the General Coordinator of the Normandy Chair for Peace. Those of you who are in France or in Europe, please get in touch with my friend, Emily Gaillard. She is the General Coordinator of the Normandy Chair for Peace. What is the Normandy Chair for Peace? Very quickly. You see, Normandy, my friends, is once a symbol of violence, of war, of invasion, of death. But the bright people, the wise people in Normandy wanted to change the storyline from war and violence to peace and kindness. So they created, instead of having the annual Normandy event where people would celebrate the loss of the war, the great invasion, in 2017, they started to organize it into the World Peace Forum. 2017, 2018, that is a simple change of a storyline from war to peace, from hatred to love and kindness. So in 2019, with the brilliance of Emily Gaillard, who is there now, and with the president and vice president and the president of Normandy and people in France, they created the Normandy Chair for Peace. And it has a simple motto. It has a simple slogan and a simple message, my dear friends. And you saw it there with that small video that you saw. We will have peace on earth when we have peace with the earth. My friends, please repeat it after me. We will have peace on earth when we have peace with the earth. And if not for the pandemic, it was organized in 2019, and I see that there are many people around the world participating in this. And I would like to invite you in advance, through Charlie, through your friends here, through Adyar, we would like to invite you in advance to join the journey, to join the joy of the journey, because together with my friends around the world, like Nick Robinson, who appointed me the Ombudsman for Future Generations, and many others, Emily Gaillard, we are going all around the world. We are going all around the world to search for good stories. And together with the United Nations, we will hold awarding events. We will replicate the Nobel Peace Prize and the Ramon Magsaysay Award all throughout the world. We are just going to share happy energy. by simply giving words of kindness. Remember that kind words do not just praise the goodness of others. Kind words have the power to change the story and the destiny of the world.
I thank you very much for that clarification, Tony. I was wondering what prompted you to shift from your legal battles in the courtroom to this good stories movement. Now I understand that you have a wider platform and a medium to spread all of these good stories. Now, how could we be engaged in this kind of work, Tony?
Okay, very good question, Charlie. Very good question. And my dear friends, hundreds there, thank you for being there, because you will be critical in this. And we are just focused on the environment, the law of life. There are many good stories about people being good, being not corrupt, and this and that. But just for this purpose, and I am glad that the Normandy Chair for Peace has taken on that mission too. It's one of the lines of its research, the Good Stories Movement. And we will send you a nomination form. It's a simple one-page nomination form. All we ask is, if you know of anyone who is taking care of the earth, the land, air, and water of life, please tell us, just send us 2 or 3 pictures of this person. Maybe a child, maybe an adult, maybe a senior, but those who are taking care of the law of life, we need to inspire them, and to not only to set their hearts on fire, but when people see that an example of someone taking good care of the earth, it will set their hearts on fire. So it's a simple nomination form. All we need is 2 pictures. And what we do, we will review it, we will research it. We also need volunteer researchers. And then we write to that person a congratulatory letter. And when you receive a letter from, say, the United Nations and the Normandy Chair for Peace and the International Council for Environmental Law, signed by these 5 big shots all over the world, saying that, hey, you are doing very good, you're doing solid waste management, you're cleaning your river, etc., etc. How did they know? So you will be part of the journey, my friends. If you are doing good, let somebody nominate you. But this is all about searching for good stories, precisely because we cannot do great things, but we cannot change. Maybe we cannot change the story of the world, but maybe we cannot change the world, but we can change the story of the world by simply changing the storyline.
Yes, that is a very good suggestion for our members here to spot those quiet workers, diligent workers, yet quietly toiling, nurturing Mother Earth. Now, we're almost
excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. Just one quick question, for example, just one quick point. On January 27, we are going to celebrate, we are going to give recognition to ordinary workers who are doing work on the ground, to those who are helping clean Manila Bay. Because I will not take more time, but the Manila Bay has become really swimmable after 20 years. Nothing is impossible. The only difference between possible and impossible is the letters I and M. If I am not willing to do it, then it will never be possible. But if I am willing to do it, then it will be possible.
Okay. So particularly for the members of the Theosophical Society in the Philippines, you have that invitation for January 27. Now, as we wind up this session, Tony, would you wish to say a few last words?
My friends, it was not me who was saying the few last words. It was you who said that 10, 50, 100 years from now, and many generations hereafter. Let it be said that in our time, while gifted with intelligence and insight, with privilege and position, many of you are in positions. I am just a bum. With privilege and position and with a wealth of wisdom, you were the ones who said this. Let it be said that in our time and during our watch, we did our share. And each and every one of you will make a difference. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much, Tony. And I think once we have peace with the earth, then the ending of this story would be, and we all lived happily ever after. So on that note, thank you very much, Tony, for being our Besant lecturer for this year. We are indeed privileged having you as our Besant lecturer, come singer, poet. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, all.